Welcome to the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast that cuts through the bullcrap and gets to the core of what players need to know. I'm your host, Egnards, joined by the roommate randomly assigned to me by the South Harmon Institute of Technology, Fat Phillip. We're kicking it old school and going back to the proverbial Star Wars drawing board tonight. So strap in, because this is Zeta Protocol. Phil, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while. I've been on vacation for a few days. I've been mostly off of Discord. It is almost like going a week without talking to your new girlfriend that you just met like 3 weeks ago. I am in withdrawal. How the hell are you tonight?
Well, my fellow shit sandwich, I am absolutely I'd say I'm fine, but like not because of this game,
Okay.
This game continues to piss me off. But no, I mean, I feel like I've been like so busy outside of this
Hmm.
with um it's awful. I am bagging my grass in the backyard right now because we're having my daughter's birthday party
Okay.
over the weekend. We have a whole new blow up slide with water cannons and shit. It kills the grass, takes up a huge chunk of the yard. I hate it, but she loves it, so that's all that matters. But uh I'm bagging the grass so I don't have to clean off the slide as much because otherwise it's
Yeah.
been raining like perpetually for like for 6 weeks this summer. It's just been straight rain every
Same here.
day.
It's awful.
And so I don't have a ton of yard, but I have like over half an acre. And bagging the backyard just takes forever, but it keeps it nicer. There's not as many clippings. So that was today, immediately after being in the office where felt like I was in meetings from the minute I showed up until the minute I left. It was just miserable. So I know
Now,
nothing about this update,
so
which
I
I didn't miss a lot.
when I mow the lawn, I obviously just let it mulch because I don't have to worry about those things. And I also have a smaller lawn, and it's been frustrating as well because it's been raining here. I feel like instead of mowing once every 2.5 weeks, I have to mow like every 5 days. Does your mower not have an attachment to catch those bags of grass? I get why you're doing it. I understand the rationale behind it for right now. Um, do
Oh
you
no,
not
I mean,
have that, or what's going on there?
I could mulch it. It's not a problem. Like I would say my mower's not the best at mulching. I had a really good one that could mulch,
Yeah.
but the gears didn't work, and my front yard slopes up very steep at one point, and that was a big problem with that mower.
Because you have a ride
Um,
on.
what's that?
Because you have a ride on, correct? If I remember correctly.
No, I push mow mine.
You have a
I
push mow.
I have a
Okay.
I have a rider. I need to get it serviced, but okay, sounds
Oh,
so bad, but you know, I
I knew you
like the
had a
way
ride on. Yeah.
I I like the way the lines look when you push mow because
Do you
they're much crisper and cleaner, and
do you
so
know I'm sure they show in your area too. I think it's Progressive Auto Insurance. The homeowners turning into their parents.
oh yeah,
That's
yep.
that's that's
Now
literally that's literally you with the old guy standing next to you going, "You don't need to have straight lines. It's not a big deal.
I
Just mow the lawn."
it's dude, it's a problem. Like I remember I would get annoyed at my dad when he would make me like switch directions, like instead
Hmm.
of just going, up and down, I
Up
have
and
to go
down.
side to side and then diagonal too. And I hated it. And now, like the other day, I'm like, I'm gonna switch the lines a little bit. Like I'm gonna, like
I I have given up on that for my lawn because if you see my front lawn, even if you see my back lawn, there's just so much stuff. My front lawn, there's a giant tree. I'm the house that has the fire hydrant. I have a path that goes up the walkway that's like all slanted. There's
yeah,
two different. There's the gas line, the water line. There's no way to have straight lines in my front line yard, and then in my backyard, I have one, two. I have two big things for the septic. I have 4 small things for the septic. I have a tree in the back. I have the porch. My wife insists on this stupid little catio thing. I have given up on even caring what lines look like. I will zigzag. I will go in a circle. I will spin that thing around. I will loop. I literally do not care as long as it gets mowed.
Yeah, I take my lines as seriously as I can at the expense of adding time to my how long I'm mowing for, which can be quite extensive if I do the
Come
front and the back.
come do my lawn and you'll give up. You'll go, no, it's not worth it.
It, you now I have a play set in my yard. I have and my yard is not square. There
Yeah.
are choke points that I have to be careful about. So I have the play set to worry about, which is not square to my yard because we had to build it at a specific spot where it was flat, not where it was actually like square and made sense. So it's on a bit of an angle, so I can't do a straight line that way. Um, then we have the fence for the dogs, so that
Mhm.
adds. Don't get me started on how much time that added. It added about 30 minutes of mowing to put that fence in because I have to do shorter lines on each side of it. Um,
Our viewers are
we
loving
have
this right now. All
I
all
listen,
all
guys, this
dozen
is
of
what you
them.
have to look forward to
All
once you're a
10.
homeowner. Like you turn like turning into your parents, those commercials,
They're
whoever
true.
came up with those is so like it hits to the core. You're like, fuck, this is me.
This
Like
is it is a good advertising campaign. I laugh at every single one of them,
it
every single time.
dude, like I took the side note, but when I took the kids to like Disneyland or Disney World and all the places, I'm like, can you imagine how much they make in parking in a day?
Oh my god.
Like just like
It's I know. I know.
yeah,
And
you
then you go
do
up to the
it.
attendant and you ask them and your wife's
Yeah,
like, "They don't know. Why would they know? They're a teenager. They don't care."
my wife gets mad because we paid for the preferred parking at SeaWorld the other year, but the line to get in, this is again terrible film moment, but this is just the way my brain works. The line to get in was like all the way in like the standard section. And I'm like, I am not paying for preferred parking to then walk all the way to the fucking standard section where the plebes parked if I paid for premium parking. And so I just like walked into line and she's like, Philip, like, what are people gonna say? I'm like, what are they gonna do? Like, they're not gonna do
Oh
anything.
my
And
goodness.
so
Phil.
sure enough, just cut the line, walked right in.
Phil.
I'm like, listen, I
We
paid
were
$5 extra for parking.
we were at the Noah Khan concert a few weeks ago, and my wife wanted merch. I don't really care about merch, but she really wanted a hoodie. And we went into line to get a hoodie, and I've never seen a merch line like this before. The merch line had it like those little dividers that like loop back and forth, and then
Yeah.
it looped all the way around, and then it looped all the way up to the second floor of the stadium, and it looped all the way around the second floor of the stadium. So we had to go like up in this entire thing. And when we got towards the end, we got to like the last 10 minutes of this line. And this is when I was like texting you and Kate and Yvonne, and I was bored. I'm like, man, we've been sitting in this line for like 45 minutes. When we got towards the end of that line, somebody tried that crap.
Oh,
Somebody
really?
like somebody had the audacity to like step in front of the guy in front of me, and the guy and I had said something, my wife had said something, these 4 other people next to us had said something, and the guy had the audacity to say, "Oh, no, I was in the line just before. I actually just left to go get a drink and go to the bathroom and then come back."
That's not
Right?
the way
Like
that works.
that's not. And it's one thing if there's someone who can corroborate your story and be like, "Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, like that's all right, cool. You saved the spot. I don't care. Fine. I appreciate it." Not a single person could corroborate this story. This guy was just trying to pull a fast one. It was very funny. He got very, very quickly removed from that line. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I was gonna say
yeah.
I felt weird when I was holding spots for like if my kids were on a ride at Disney.
Yeah.
and I would go to, like, meet a princess and be standing in line, but the longer I was there, the more I saw more, like, dads especially
Hmm.
doing that, where you're just like, "I'm gonna stand in line for them because like, I'm not being the friggin' princess, like, it's not
Yeah.
taking any more of their time. Both girls are going up at once, like, we don't need to." But I was like, "I'm okay with that, like, if somebody's gonna save your spot, whatever. I don't need the whole party waiting as long as it's not, like, 15 people."
Yeah, I look, it doesn't bother me either because it happens to me too. It happens to everybody. Like when somebody just pops in the line, one or two people, cool, fine, that's normal, that's fair. You went with two people to the concert or to Disney, but yes, when there's like 30 people that kind of pop in and they're like, oh no, he was saving a spot for everybody in existence, I will
Yeah.
fight you. I will
Oh.
beat you down. I will end all of existence to get you out of this line. I will open up a can of whoop ass and go Karen on your ass over that kind of crap because I just no. Common
Captain
decency, people.
Captain Insano.
Captain Insano. Captain Hammer. Um we have not too terribly much to talk about. I would like to start with the update though to kind of give us a reprieve of the last couple of weeks of things going on in the game. So our update for today, you can see my intro right over there. Not too much going on. We have Zeb, who is now farmable.
Yep.
I'm going to give you a chance to rant about that. Is there any problems you have about with Cantina
Uh,
9F and Zeb being farmable on Cantina 9F?
I was going to say, so initially I saw Cantina 9 at work and I freaked out.
Okay.
Not no, because I don't have those memorized like weird people that
I don't
I
have it
use all
memorized. I was actually at my
like
PC.
weird people that are on this podcast with me. Um, but I think I said this, someone checked the tapes. I feel like I said this last podcast that the new characters should go on those nodes. Like those 3 signal data
Yeah.
nodes. If you want to put characters, that's where to do it because but rotate them off and meet like as soon as you have the 4th character that's going to Cantina, Zeb gets
So you're
replaced kind of
saying
thing.
make it temporary.
Yeah, like make it something where
Okay.
every era you're gonna have say 2 characters that go to Cantina.
Yes, but they'll be
Have
passively
the
farmable through that.
Yeah, have them go to those nodes and then they rotate off. Because
Okay.
you figure after 6 months or whatever period of time that somebody would fall off of it, not a huge deal for anyone else. It goes to a lower Cantina energy node, no one's gonna complain. But for everybody who's trying to participate with those characters, still get signal data because you're asking more and more of it of us.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I support this decision to put it on that node. I farm that node every friggin' day. I did not farm a single Vel shard. I bought all of them and continued to farm that node, so like I'm here for it.
I think that your idea there is very friendly. Which is why I don't think CG will do it. I think it's almost too friendly to the player base to having a temporary rotating node because then it makes farming all of the new Cantina nodes more of a passive farm than an active farm. Are you
Correct.
looking for your dignity there or
And now
no?
there was something wet on my foot, and I thought it was cat shit, but it was just a leaf from when I was mowing.
For
So
those of you listening on Spotify and aren't watching the video, for the last minute, Phil has been just staring at the floor, very confused. So I had to clarify. I do think it's a great idea, and I think it would be very player forward and very player friendly. I don't see it as feasible for them, and I think that Zeb is probably going to live on that node at least
oh
for the
yeah.
foreseeable future. However, I think
I
it's super player friendly.
yeah, I agree. I don't think that's a permanent addition or a
You do
thing that they're
think?
gonna rotate around. Like he's there for good, which again, I feel like it's just one of those things where you made these nodes extremely valuable,
Mhm.
extremely popular. Throw us a bone, you know. But
Look,
that's not in their
if
that's not in their
CG
nature.
if CG is listening, then great. Hopefully they'll listen to it. I think it's a solid idea. I just don't think it's a feasible business a feasible business decision, so I don't expect it to happen. Again, I,
Correct.
I I support it. We have our GL Mando second set of requirements. Now, this was very easy for me. I'm curious about for someone whose account is in your standings, who that tends to get things second run, how you're feeling about Captain Carson Tiva, Zeb, and Colonel Ward being Relic 7 requirements, and IG 11 being a Relic 9 requirement for GL Mando.
Yeah. So I want to give some major credit here.
Okay.
So far, they are 8 for 8 on thematic units for the Galactic Legend.
Hmm.
And I have not felt that with definitely not with Hondo. Definitely not with Hondo. Ahsoka, I felt we were reaching a little bit where I was like, like there were some that were there and some that were not. Because I think I'm looking at it as the version of Ahsoka that we got. Yes, everybody kind of interacted with her, but like Kenobi and Lord Vader at times, Leia, Jabba, you just was like, some of them were reaching for the stars here a bit on including them, or making up characters like Drogon. So I appreciate the thematic feel so far. Uh, Rada, R5, Colonel Ward, Carson, Zeb, like I'm fine with all that. Like I don't if they include every single character required for Rada, I can't be arsed. I don't give a shit. Like that's fine.
It's actually kind
No
of
skin off.
insane that they did that.
Yeah,
I was very surprised. I mean,
I
IG-11
was.
is a character that nobody has used since the Dash Rendar prepared meta in GAC, and that's been a very long time. I honestly, I've probably never sent IG-11 into battle outside of maybe a galactic challenge where it was a requirement to send him into battle. It's tough to pull a character like that to R9. There's always a crappy character. You know, I had to bring Fulcrum to R9. I'm not too hurt by it. But when the Rada the Hutt event is going to essentially require these guys at Relic 6, this is like super, super, super player friendly when Rada's in your first set of requirements, and 3 out of the 4 of these requirements right now are literally, hey, +1 relic on top of that.
Yeah, I was shocked that they were required at Relic. I even would argue like I was shocked they were required at all.
Yeah.
Um, because you think about Jedi Knight Luke for Jedi Master Luke, there wasn't a ton of overlap. Was there what maybe 2 or 3 characters that overlapped?
Yeah, there was a
But
couple, but it was also much harder to relic things at that time as well. So increasing 1 or 2 relic levels on a character wasn't a huge ask, but it was still a pretty decent ask. When we're talking about relic 6 to relic 7, a endgame or an endgame adjacent player, that's basically free outside of signal data.
yeah, and like I had IG 11 at Relic 1 from his episode quest or
Yeah.
the quest token, and then I just used a Kyber token to bring Relic 6. So like the Relic 9 does kind of like suck a bit, but at the same time, you know, we brought Fulcrum to Relic 9 and they found a way for her to still be semi-usable. Like she's not completely useless. You're using her in teams.
Every once in a
You
while. That's
found
fair.
she is a character like you're using her in a Seer Malicos team a lot of times. We use her in territory wars with Rey.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's potential where you could probably use IG-11 at some point somewhere.
IG-11
Um,
might get prominence again. I was actually thinking about this earlier when we have Jackson, because Jackson is going to give us a prepared team again. So there
yeah,
may be some viability for IG-11. I'm not super familiar with the kit just because, again, it's a character that I've played
you'd
with
need
a handful of
you'd need
times.
que- you need Queel. I don't know if he gets the prepared bonuses,
Yeah,
but Queel and IG-11
are kind of
did make
married.
and they made the Dash team really fucking stupid for a bit where
Yes.
Queel's bonuses. So like there's some potential there where you're like maybe that's the route you go. It'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. Like I would assume getting IG-11, I would not be shocked if we see Queel at this point. in as a future requirement.
As you think like another Relic 9?
I don't know if he would be Relic 9 or not, because I'm still anticipating Relic 10 Bam.
Bam. I
Yeah,
hope
that's
they
very
don't make us Relic 10 Bam, not because I won't do it, because I will, but one criticism that I've always had is that when it comes to fleets, when they continuously ask us to bring relics to characters in fleets, it just kind of homogenizes the fleet compositions of like, oh, everybody has a Relic 10 whatever his ship is called, Razor Crest, right? Like I
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
the idea of some people have a lower relic, some people have a higher relic, some people have Relic 9 because they did the Mandalore event, some people keep him at Relic 7. I hate when fleets themselves become everything is a mirror. If they do it, fine. I get it. I understand it. I won't blame them for it. But I do hope that they don't do it.
yeah. I mean, they're kind of already there with Leviathan, so
That's
not
fair.
really a change. That's not really a change at this point. Just delete fleets, CG,
That's
if you're listening. Just
it's,
delete them.
I don't
Just
know.
like you've clearly, at this point, I know we've added Pilot Zeb and Colonel Ward, which means they're definitely going to get ships. Like
We say that, but
book
Trench
it
still doesn't
now.
have a ship.
Yeah, but they also needed another separatist character. Like,
Okay. And
you
Luthen
know,
doesn't have a. They gave us Rogue One instead of Luthen's ship.
I don't actually hate that though, because Luthen's ship was cool, but we saw it really just one time. Where like the Rogue One ship, that whole was a very, I mean, it was a small part of like they weren't in the ship long, but it was a very important part of the movie is having that ship. Like, I mean,
Okay.
it's they named the movie after the ship,
Okay. All right. That's fair.
right?
For the bug fixes in this upcoming patch or the patch that just happened, there isn't too much that's relevant. A lot of it has to do with Jedi training Leia, which we haven't seen yet really so far. Notable things, I think at least, if Kleia is defeated in battle, the damage immunity buff no longer applies to Luthen Rael when his health
That
drops below 25% or less for the first time. And per the previous post, we have reverted Hondo's ability to steal locked buffs. Also, territory battle pirates should now count towards defeat 10 pirates, and fixed an issue where enemies with damage immunity or in aggressive stance receive true damage from Daughter of Mortis, which I haven't really heard people talking about. I think the big thing here is they reverted Hondo's ability to steal locked buffs, which was apparently an intended change. Based on Meathead's post, it sounded like they intended to make that change, but then backtracked when they realized how dumb they were. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that situation?
So I wasn't as close to it. Like, I don't pay as much attention to that stuff as I should.
Okay.
But so was he stealing locked buffs and should not have been, or he was
So he
and
was he was stealing locked buffs, including unique locked buffs. So he was stealing high ground. He was stealing keen stratagem. He was stealing, basically all of those weird buffs that a player can have on their character.
Yep.
And according to CG, it was intended that they made the change that you could steal those buffs. But it was an unannounced change. So people went into GAC
Oh, and
and
he
they
was
were fighting teams like you were fighting with Watt, Trench and Watt against Hondo, and Hondo was stealing all three
weapon tech.
of the
Yeah.
weapon techs, of the different techs, yeah. And the techs
Yeah.
themselves literally say, hey, you can only have one of these.
Yeah.
So
So that
Meathead released, they were
yeah.
like, we realize not necessarily that we don't want him to steal unique buffs, but there's buffs that he should be stealing and buffs that he shouldn't be stealing. And we don't really have a good system for telling people which buffs he should be stealing and he shouldn't be stealing. So we're just going to revert the change for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you said that because like I didn't encounter that in my Hondo fights, but maybe I just
Okay.
wasn't paying enough attention to using
Well, who
some
do you
stupid comp
use
against.
to fight against Hondo?
Depends on the. Trying to think. Did did I use Stranger on one of them? Maybe. Definitely used um who's the damn character?
I
Seer
don't know.
Malicos
Okay.
did that team a few times. So like I don't think I like Leia was not a team I used. Definitely not like Imperial Troopers with the inevitable fail or what's the Piet
I think
buff
it
he
is
gives out?
inevitable failure.
Is that one inevitable
Or
failure? Because
no,
there's
it's the other one.
Emperor's
Trap,
Trap.
Emperor's Trap. Emperor's Trap.
Yeah. So regardless, I think I personally don't think he should be stealing those because that's kind of the whole purpose of those buffs is like you can't steal this. But you know, he's already such a like well I mean, I don't want to say overpowered because I don't think he's without the pirate datacron,
Mhm.
scoundrel datacrons that were existing for a bit. I don't think he's overpowered. I feel like he's pretty balanced at this
Yeah.
point where there are counters that exist. They are consistent enough that you will probably rely on them. And what makes him a bit of a challenge is the RNG if you're not smart.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I'm kind of okay with where he exists. So I feel like stealing lock buffs to me is just a step too far at that point.
I um I think my biggest problem with it was that it wasn't communicated. You know, like
Well,
you
that's
make
just
this huge change to a character and you have patch notes. And those patch notes are there for a purpose, right? They're there to communicate those changes. And they have all of these things and they didn't say, "Hey, you know what players would be interested in knowing is the changes we're making to the Conquest character who's not even out yet." Right? Like as opposed to like the Galactic Legend and your meta fights against them and your battles are gonna be fundamentally altered. So like Seer Malicos against Hundo in the last GAC because he was stealing the locked crit immunity. It made it
yeah.
harder to win. It was still doable. I did it twice, but I people were reporting losses that they did not expect to have, and they didn't really understand or have the information going into battle how things were going to work, and that was definitely an annoying thing. And I would really stress if CG is going to make any changes like that in the future to please, please, please communicate that to us.
And that's just I mean, this has been something of a topic that's come up quite a bit where they really have, I think, struggled at times with communication and without being, negative Nancy about it. I feel like a lot of times where the struggle is coming from is or I shouldn't say the struggle. I feel like a lot of the lack of communication is more often than not the result of news that we are not going to appreciate or want to hear.
Yeah,
And I the more I've noticed that, again, the more it does kind of piss me off a bit because it's like, listen, I hate giving bad news to my boss as much as the next person, but I will get fired
if I
if
don't give
he
that
finds it
news.
out. Yeah, like I remember I had a boss one time say like if you have bad news and I find out before you, you are in legitimate trouble comparative to if you just tell me. She's like, because
Yeah,
if you tell me and I can head off my boss, you're probably scot free at that point because you probably didn't cause the problem.
yeah.
She's like, but like, if you cause the problem, that's a different matter. But like, there's bad news. You got to tell somebody. You can't just let it sit there and fester and not say a word, and then someone finds out, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew that. Like that was
Push it under the rug. No big deal. It's
yeah
somebody else's problem.
yeah like that's yeah you can't do
And
that. Come
it's
on
a
now.
weird change to make, like over a year after he came out, to be like, "Oh, we always intended him to steal locked buffs."
Uh,
Uh,
I
What?
would like to take a time out here and ask you about Unending Loyalty with Jedi Knight Anakin and Negotiator, the AoE Fear from Bastila
Okay,
Fallen,
to be fair about
the
unending
Phase
loyalty.
2
To be
Ezra
fair,
Ezra Bridger
you're right.
Exile,
You're right.
where
You're
King
you're right.
Miko.
You're right about Ezra. But to be fair about unending loyalty, they did isolate it and say this is a bug. And they did try to fix it multiple times, but it never worked. And then suddenly and magically when Executor came out, they were able to fix it, right? So
Yeah,
we've actually talked about that situation and how they do those fixes. But that is fair because hey, maybe the new GL Mando is intended to be beaten by Hondo, and that has something to do with lock buffs, and that is very fair.
yeah, like, I think whenever I've seen these changes,
Yes, that's
it's
true.
normally preparing for something like, again,
Hmm.
like we said with Ezra, is the Ezra change as much about what's currently going on,
Or what's
or
coming
are we
next.
yeah, are we future proofing for what could happen?
I
Um,
That's fair. That's my theory, and I forgot about it in this instance, which is silly of me. Um,
how dare
moving.
you? Where's that Greta Thunberg meme?
Ugh,
How
you
dare
know what?
you?
I blame it on being I blame it on being tired because you make me film so late at night.
Yeah.
Uh, m- moving on, we have Starkiller, Luke Skywalker. I'm sorry, I apologize. We
Luke
have
Starkiller.
Luke Starkiller, which I really, again, I just think that they should have said something like Starkiller or Luke Starkiller concept, not Starkiller Luke concept, because if you don't know the story behind it, then you're just confused. And we have kind of talked about that before.
Yep.
Um, he does look cool. I dig the weird gas mask, like World War II, but
He
also
looks
had
like he
time to get a haircut. Look,
yeah, he kinda looks like he's, prepared to go fight on, Mon Cala
okay,
underwater with like,
all right, nerd.
got the Cad Bane hose apparatus going on.
And he's intended to be in a CLS squad, which is interesting. It's going to bring CLS back into fruition. I haven't actually read the kit. I don't know who he's going to be replacing. I am assuming what we have CLS. He's not going to be replacing. We-
It's there's one of 2 options that he's gonna replace.
okay,
It's either 3PO
2PO,
or it's
2
2PO,
2PO or 3PO. Yeah.
and my guess is he's replacing C3PO.
Okay.
Only because I think the one of his mechanics from reading it earlier, he has exposed mechanics.
Okay.
Because I think
Which
with Chupio, the one thing I think about is the stat
the,
sharing for
the
that
stat
team
sharing,
is
the constant assists, that
yeah, the
huge hit.
yeah, like I think those are not that expose isn't important against certain teams, but there's a lot of teams now where percent health damage doesn't
Isn't as
matter.
big of a deal.
Yeah.
Well, he's an unaligned force user too, so he might go in a Ray team. It's
He's light
just,
side, so he might go to
I don't
Ray
know.
team.
Let's play the will this go into the Ray team game.
Uh, you can read his basic, is his first one, and you're like,
Let's
oh,
see.
maybe not.
So his first ability, Laser Sword Strike, dispel all buffs and deal physical damage to target enemy. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker, during Starkiller Luke Concept's turn, he gains 20% turn meter. So yeah, they've learned their lesson. Is essentially they're like, we need to stop making things. We have to start tagging guys to leaders, otherwise it's going in a raid team.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think this is maybe finally, catching on, what, 5 years late or however long Ray has been in the game, that this is what happens, because, like, I remember when I first was going up against Ray, it would be, like, Ray wouldn't even be in the leader slot, she'd be with a Jedi Knight Revan lead, because Jedi Knight Revan
Yeah,
lead was still, like, the best Jedi
The
lead in the
best at
game.
that.
It'd be all
Yeah.
like four Jedi and then Rey.
Hmm.
And then you'd also see the opposite where she'd be in the leader and it'd be Jedi Knight Revan there too. But I think finally picking up that, yeah, she really is. I'd argue she's the only true galactic legend because she's not tied to a specific
To
faction like
anything.
everybody else.
She's just
Everybody else,
always relevant.
yes.
Always. I actually, in my last GAC, I fought somebody with the Raycron, and he was running Ray with Ben, with Zalbar, with Tarful, and Clone Wars Chewie. I
Oh,
literally could not beat it with my quad mate team. I could not get around Zalbar's taunt. And they obviously had good mods. It wasn't like they just threw these characters in.
yeah, yeah.
This person intended to piss me off. I could not get
I
around Zalbar, and Tarful kept healing him. And every time I got around Zalbar, Clone Wars Chewie now had a taunt on him. I literally could do nothing with my quad mate team, even with the big Padawan Obi-Wan hits. Nothing. I managed in like 4 minutes and 30 seconds to kill Zalbar, making it an easy cleanup, but it was so infuriating.
used this past round I was using Slicker because I just was not sure if Quadme would still work
It was still
because
working other than that. Other than that Wookiee
I was
team.
facing like 300% defense with Barris
Yeah.
and Baby Cow, and I'm like, I'm not sure that I trust my uh Quadme team to survive an ult with all of that.
So you went the nuclear option.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I was successful 2 times, unsuccessful 1 time because I mistimed the ultimate on Slicker. I thought I'd get a turn, and I did not, so that was the
I've done
last
that.
round. I did that was my only battle, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm
I'm
just,
just I'm over it.
enough GAC today. But I will say it was a big problem for me because I only just got that datacron
Hmm.
in between the GAC. Like as that GAC was going on, I got Raycron, so I didn't have it for the first week, and I definitely could tell that that was a big part of my opponent's game plan
Strategy. I didn't
was like
because we've seen it
exploiting
before.
that.
Because we've seen that Datacron before, I wasn't scared of it. The last time it came around, I was very scared of it, and Quad May was still working for me. So I went in thinking, yes, this is a good cron to have. Like this is one that will put up defense numbers, but it wasn't one where I was like, this is OP. There's always that one where you're like, this is the one that you need to have. And I didn't feel like Ray was the shining star that a lot of people thought it would be.
It, I wouldn't say it was so much that like I'd say more so at least at our level of GAC, you can probably attest to this that like the issue is banner wise. I think
Yeah,
the
of
best
course.
I did, I got a like 59 the one battle, which was
Yeah,
crazy with Flicker. Like, but that kind of killed me from I'm losing 6 banners to them just using Quad May against
right off the
mine.
bat. I get that.
Um, so yeah, I mean it is what it is, right? I don't spend crystals on reroll mats. I refuse to do that.
Need it for Darth Jar Jar.
Not just not worth it.
Need it for Darth Jar
I have
Jar.
a
All right.
Dark Jar Jar at this
This is not GAC
throttle.
talk. This is Starkiller Luke concept talk. As
Yes.
a reminder, our basic, right? Dispel all buffs and deal physical damage to target enemy. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker, during Starkiller Luke's concept's turn, he gains 20% turn meter. Moving on to his first special, Son of the Suns. Deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict buff immunity for 2 turns. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker, he assists. And Starkiller, Luke concept, inflicts. I'm just going to say Starkiller,
Yeah,
but everybody who's listening, when I say Starkiller, I am referring to Starkiller Luke concept. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker, he assists, and Starkiller inflicts shared fate on that enemy for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. If Commander Luke Skywalker has call to action, he assists a second time, and the Grip of Titan, which is his next special, his cooldown is reduced by 1. Shared Fate. When this enemy receives damage, 20% of that damage is dealt to all other enemies as true damage. This damage can't defeat them. Only one enemy can be inflicted with Shared Fate at a time. Okay. So I guess because it only happens for 2 turns, that it's not that this, if I use this on some other unit, it won't change who has it. It just won't be able to be applied until it is
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, so you'll want to use this on a tank.
Yes. Because you can use
One,
that tank now to kill the tank and also do damage to everybody else.
yeah, or somebody slow. Whoever the slowest character is, you want to use. And again, you're gonna mess up. I'm gonna end up putting it on the Galactic Legend at some point, and then it's gonna be off, and But
In 3
yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
I'm not going to be using Starkiller and
no,
CLS against Galactic Legends, but I do understand your point.
yeah. Don't
Uh,
put this on GL Hondo.
God,
Just-
take 17 turns for every one you take. The Grip of Titan, cooldown of 4. Deal physical damage to all enemies and ability block them for 1 turn. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker and there are no Galactic Legend allies, dispel all debuffs on Rebel allies. And enemies critically hit by this ability lose 20% turn meter. If any debuff was dispelled on Starkiller, Rebel allies gain 25% offense, stacking max 100% until the end of battle. So I wonder if they were in testing, people were using like CLS with Leia.
yeah,
Like Leia as the not lead, obviously. CLS in the lead, and then Leia, and it was working too powerfully. So they were like, let's nip this and make sure that you can't use this as effectively if there's a GL.
yeah. And they're gonna the offense gain. That's pretty for a CLS team. That gets pretty scary pretty quick.
Yes, that
Because
ramp up can be crazy.
And I think if I'm remembering Chupio's kit correctly, is it I'm trying to think of the how that unique works? Is it just at the start of
I
battle or
believe
are
it's at the start of battle. We can
um
look. I'm
yeah, I'm gonna
almost
look over
positive
here.
it's the start of battle. If the allied leader is a non-galactic legend rebel, 3PO and Chewie gain 40% of the leader's max health, max protection, offense, defense, potency, and tenacity at the start of the first encounter. And
Yeah,
rebel allies gain half that amount. So it's at the beginning of the encounter.
yeah. So that won't matter as much then.
No,
But
but
I
it
was
will
thinking of that.
still do a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And his unique. Rebel allies have 15% critical chance and 25% max health and max protection, doubled if Commander Luke Skywalker is the ally in the leader slot. If the ally in the leader slot is Commander Luke Skywalker and there are no galactic legends on either side, whenever
Yeah,
a
so
rebel
that's
ally, yeah,
hold on. So that's interesting because that's just a straight up part of
no
the
GLs.
yeah, no GLs, and that's not even an Omicron. That's just a straight up unique.
It's just part of the unique.
Yep.
Um, Whenever a rebel ally critically hits the target enemy, that enemy is exposed for 2 turns. Whenever an enemy with shared fate uses a special ability, increase the cooldowns of all other enemies by 1. The first time an ally gains guard, Starkiller and all rebel attacker allies without guard gain it for 2 turns. So at the beginning of the
Yes.
battle with Chewbacca, they're all going to have guard and be doing some nice
You're
assisting.
you're definitely kicking C3PO off the team now
Yeah.
because everybody else is an attacker in that team.
Yes, and he's not going to do crap.
Yep.
Whenever Commander Luke Skywalker gains call to action, all rebel allies gain call to action for 1 turn. While in Grand Arenas, if Commander Luke Skywalker is the allied leader slot, and there are no Galactic Legends, whenever a Rebel ally attacks out of turn, they have 50% defense penetration. Whenever a Rebel ally is ability blocked, they dispel it and gain protection up. 50% stacking for 2 turns and 25% turn meter. Enemies with shared fate can't gain bonus turn meter, and whenever they start their turn, Starkiller gains 50% turn meter. It doesn't seem like it's a too like that wasn't a long kit to read.
No. Most of the
It's
kit is his name and Galactic Legends.
it really is. If you were to take the word budget on this, the names of Galactic Legends, of Starkiller, Luke Concept, and Commander Luke
Commander Luke.
Skywalker, that's like
Yeah.
25% of the word budget in this entire kit as it is. It does look to be a nasty kit. It does look like CLS is going to be a useful team. But I think, again, like, I always try to think of things outside of the FTC, because when the FTC is here, it's always amazing. And now we're kind of seeing like Cassian, not amazing. Cassian, B plus team, you're going to use him, but he's not great. I think that we're going to kind of see the similar things happen with CLS, where he will be in prominence for 3 months. And then after those 3 months, you might use him on offense. You might see him on defense, but he's not going to be one of those core teams.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, and I think this is kind of the unfortunate truth of the game now is that any team that has a GL clause in it like
Yeah.
this, where if there's no GLs present, like on either side, it does completely kind of neuter some of their ability for use. Because think about like the Qui-Gon Omicron, when that first was kind of in prominence and you set it on defense. Oftentimes, I don't know if you were this way, but like that was the last team I would oftentimes kill if
Yeah.
possible. And you just were like, "Do I have JML or Sith Eternal left?" And
Yes.
because it just it stopped it, like in that, it, it's
How do I turn
unfortunate.
this off? Yeah.
Yeah, but like when you can do something like that, it does kind of change, and that doesn't mean that you can't use it on offense, but it just means that okay, you're hoping that they didn't set a GL heavy defense. And so I think you're right that once the focus datacron goes away, this might be a team where you might use it, you might not. It's going to be part of like the more of like are you playing chess with your opponent of setting it
Yeah.
early and then hoping you draw out a GL. But yeah, it's definitely getting harder and harder to shine in the
It
game
is.
now.
I mean, my last GAC match, I used Slicker against a sortie team. I just,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I had like 4 GL, and I was like, you know what? This will be fun.
I don't.
Because there's only so many things that you can use.
I'm at the point now where Sith Eternal and Bane are just tied at the hip. I don't even split them off anymore.
Yeah, I've been using them together a little bit more prominently. Because again, like I don't need Bane for Lord Vader anymore, right? Like that was where he was, and now he's not as reliable in that battle anymore. So I don't need him by himself. And if I don't need him by himself, why do I risk it? Though I will say in this last GAC, it was very funny. I lost the match because of this, but it was very funny to see C Bane get completely obliterated by Gungans with the
Oh
400%
God,
like just completely wiped off of the board. It was quite
I
sad.
I was not clean through Gungans in the 2 times that I faced them.
None of my opponents were clean against mine. It's funny because I would stream my GACs and people were like, just use Great Mothers. No, not with this cron right now.
It it's
Every
hard.
single one of my opponents used Great Mothers against me, and every single one of them lost. And you can say, well, Egnards, because your Gungans are Relic 10. I used my Great Mothers, who are Relic 7, against a Gungan team that was Relic 5 and had the worst mods I'd ever seen. And they still got wiped off of the board with the 400% defense to offense cron. It was silly. I wasn't even mad. It was just this silly thing to
it- It's
watch.
it's definitely a this is one of those times where I think CG like forgets that they have something like that in the game because it is
Yeah.
just so ridiculously silly to watch. Um, and like I'm up against a guy from Maw Erodium. I
Mhm.
go 1 and 2, and now my penance is I get to fight some guy with a remodded Tarpals with a defense set, and I'm
I
like
did, yeah.
I'm just gonna say this. I know people do it. You're a loser if you do that. Like you're you're a loser if you do that because I
Yeah,
get it.
Vexatron. Screw you,
Yeah,
sexy
Vex, like
Vexy.
you're a loser. No, like I very much will judge people for that only because that is a level of effort and commitment that I think is just so over the top
I
for
can't do it.
something where I'm going to get squished and crushed and stuck at a 50% win rate. Like, what the hell do I care if I lose to you or I lose to the next guy? It don't matter.
People have asked me. They're like, "Oh, have you reminded your Gungans?" No, no. Mine have nice mods on them. They're either going to work or they're not. I don't have the time for that. I
Yeah,
have
it's
I have
just
I have other things to do.
yeah.
Speaking of datacrons, have you had a chance to look at the new set yet?
Dude, I told you I was in meetings
I wasn't listening.
all day today. Oh yeah, I was in meetings all day today. It was misery.
Okay,
Misery.
so we do have a new datacron set. And I want to take a quick look at it just because there's really nothing else to talk about, right? So why not? Um, ooh, do I want to remove the internet? No, I do not want to remove the internet. The new set is Empire and Jedi Vanguard. Um, Looking at our stats, what do we have for stats?
Oh, there it
Tenacity,
is.
health, crit chance, armor pen, potency. Well, there's our answer to defense, right? Is that armor pen,
But it's only
potency?
just as a side note there though, like
Yeah,
it's only armor pen. It's not defense pen.
correct. It
So
is only armor pen. That is
Captain
true.
Drogon is not benefiting. And this goes
That is true.
I know some people don't understand this, but physical damage versus special damage are different. They use resistance versus um what is it? Resistance and armor are two different things.
Correct.
So when you have armor pen, you're only talking about physical damage attackers. When you have resistance pen, you're talking about special. They always seem to release defense percent on the datacron.
Hmm.
I don't think we've ever had straight defense penetration. We've had
No, no,
armor pen
we've never
and
had
we've
a
had
defense
resistance
penetration.
pen, but we've never had both. And it always bothers me because somebody will be like, I don't know why my Drogon is losing. I have 200% armor pen. And I'm like,
It doesn't do anything. It's like the
yeah,
people who will post on Reddit or on Discord in the Grand Inquisitor event, and they'll be like, "Why? There's 400 armor shreds on this character. Why is he not dead?" Because after 4, you're doing nothing.
yeah,
After 3, you're doing very little. After 4, you're literally doing nothing. You have to understand how the stat works. That is correct. This will only, because it is armor pen, it only works with physical damage. So when you're doing your GAC battles, please make sure that you are prioritizing your armor pen to physical attackers, not to special attackers. But at least there is some degree of answer for defense to some extent, because you know that you have people who are putting 350, 400% defense on their crons and just laughing their way to the bank. I
oh,
happen to take a quick look at really just the level 9s in this set, and I've got to say, I'm sure I'm sure something here or somebody here in the comments or on Discord is going to tell me that I'm wrong, and that's completely fine. But there's nothing here that I'm like, oh my god, I need to have this. There's nothing that says, oh well, like this is gonna be the most amazing thing. I think the closest is probably Jocasta Nu. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Jocasta Nu takes a bonus turn. During this bonus turn, Jocasta Nu deals 100% more damage. We've seen this before with Dengar, and Dengar was a silly little explosive demon when he had it. Uh,
yep.
She's probably going to be one that you're going to want to go for. I am also a little bit curious by this Grand Admiral Thrawn one. At the start of Grand Admiral Thrawn's turn, inflict damage over time on Empire allies for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Whenever an Empire ally gains a debuff, they gain an additional 40% turn meter and 40% more damage until the end of the encounter. Whenever an Empire ally uses maneuver, Empire allies reduce their cooldowns by 1 and gain critical hit immunity, defense up, potency up, and tenacity up. And all enemies lose 15% turn meter. My first thought was to throw this with Lord Vader, but then you lose some of your clone viability. So we might be seeing more Thrawns with a Darth Vader, hate fueled, whatever we call him, New Vader,
Yeah.
in a New Vader team, and I think it's going to make it a little bit silly. But other than that, there is nothing in the level 9s where I'm like, oh, I have to have this thing.
So Darth Vader, whenever an
Yeah.
ally takes a bonus turn, all allies recover health and protection. Vader gains 20% offense stacking to the end of battle.
Yes.
But it just says an ally.
Correct. So it
So
will
that's counting
include him.
his, yeah. So
Yes.
the amount of offense he's going to be gaining will be very ridiculous.
That is
Uh,
true. He's also very squishy, though. I find he dies so quickly. So he will
yeah.
be a glass cannon,
And then
depending on the team you decide to put him with.
the ISB getting more help again. I don't know that it's going to make much of a. I was never very impressed with that team. I don't know if you had similar thoughts with that. I wasn't overly impressed with the.
I'm finding it funny that we're getting an ISB cron literally right after their FTC
But
ended.
I see. I would say the same thing, except that like this has happened now for. You think we went from like the anniversary era.
Okay.
Immediately after that, you had an Emperor Palpatine datacron that made
Hmm.
Vader Duel's End very good. We currently still have the Jango Fett cron, which makes Asajj very, very good.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Like they have kept some characters, I mean, relevant. Think about Hondo, you had pirates and then scoundrels immediately after. Like it seems like they're
That's
picking a few factions to keep relevant if they either want them to be ridiculously good or feel they need the help. Um,
that is incredibly and 100% fair. Um, but they're like, I'm not impressed by the Partagaz one. Partagaz's team was very easily beaten when his FTC was around. If his FFTC couldn't handle it, I don't think this level 9 is going to do it. Now, again, I haven't looked at the 6s or the 3s yet, but really, the only ones that I'm interested in, like really hardcore, are Thrawn and Jocasta Nu. I do agree with you. Darth Vader's looks pretty good on paper, but he's also such a glass cannon that I'm worried that he's not going to be able to keep up.
so the one level 6 is the for Empire, the
So
turn
let's take a look at
meter
those.
damage reduction bullshit.
All right, so let's see. Whenever an enemy, so the Empire level 6s, whenever an enemy loses turn meter, Empire allies gain protection up for 2 turns, 10%. Whenever an ally loses protection up, they gain 10% turn meter. Whenever an Empire ally falls below 100% health, they gain a bonus turn, limit once per character per battle. At the start of each turn, if non-Galactic Legend Empire allies have 50% or more turn meter, they reduce damage received by 75% until the end of the turn. Empire allies can ignore taunt to target a debuffed enemy. I'm interested in that for Lord Vader.
So I hear you till you read the next one.
Okay. Whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire allies gain 2% offense, doubled if that debuff was dispelled until the end of battle. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
Lord Vader
Yeah.
one
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're gonna
Yeah.
get the what I would do would change a little. You're gonna go AOE with Vader, and then you're gonna
Hmm.
have Oppo immediately use his ability, and now you're um because that triggers those stacks, right?
Yes. That triggers it, but
So
it doesn't dispel them.
it doesn't dispel it. Um,
Because if it
but
triggers that, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know what the wording would be. Let's
it
see.
don't I don't think it dispels it. It just triggers them. I don't think it
Let's see.
inflicts anything.
Uh, Deal physical damage and trigger all stacks of damage over time on all enemies. Yeah, so it doesn't dispel them. So it won't
Yeah.
dispel them, but it will still do the damage. And I
But it does
believe,
lead to the if you can get Order 66
yeah,
to go in and expire, that's gonna count. So yeah, it's gonna be stupid
yes.
for
So
Lord
I would agree with you. I would
I
agree
think
with you
that
there.
one's Lord Vader, but I think the other like the ignore taunt doesn't Vader Duel's End have some version of ignore taunt somewhere in his kit?
Vader's Duel's End has lived on defense since he came out.
Yeah,
He might is all I am
but
going to
that
say.
but that might be good for that team for like
Okay,
Palpatine and Mara Jade to ignore the taunt because
I agree.
you're not using again, you're not using them against a GL because they lose so much of their
Mhm.
viability. Um, but yeah, and then
You
the
have the
reduced
reduction
damage.
damage. That's always a
Yeah.
nice fallback. The bonus turn if an Empire ally falls below 100% health. Um, isn't that basically what the Sith had, and that was what was making Duel's End silly because he was getting his turn right at the beginning of battle. So you
Yes.
had to
Yeah.
use Han Solo to shut that off.
Yeah. There was a couple of things you could do,
There were
but yeah,
yes,
it was
there
super.
were a
It
few
was very
things
annoying.
making it tougher.
But
So
that was
there's
also
a few
because
choices.
there really wasn't any good choice besides that one for uh Vader Duel's End in that set.
Yes, but there's a
This one, there's
couple
some
here.
other, yeah.
F-
Um,
for Jedi Vanguard, it looks like we do have a wordy one, right? You have a few single ones. Jedi Vanguard allies grant a buff to another ally. That ally gains 10% turn meter. At the start of the first turn, Jedi Vanguard allies gain offense equal to 400% of their current defense until the end of battle. Then they lose 50% defense until the end of the battle. So basically, what we have now, but just for Vanguard. The end of each turn, Jedi Vanguard allies recover health and protection equal to 50% of the amount of enemies recovered that turn. The first time each Jedi Vanguard ally falls below 50% health, all Jedi Vanguard allies reduce their cooldowns by 1 and gain 10% turn meter. And whenever an enemy gains a stack of investigation, they are provoked for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. And Jedi Vanguard allies gain 20% critical damage until the end of the encounter, stacking max 200%. Whenever an enemy becomes revealed, that enemy takes true damage equal to 25% of their max health and is inflicted with armor shred until the end of battle. And all enemies are exposed for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Generally, the wordy one is the one that you want to go for. It's not always the case, though, but I'd say like 90% of the time.
yeah, it depends. If you're running a Jedi Master Mace Windu team, you want the wordy one. But if you're running Keller and Beck, then you'll want the 400% offense because
Yes, because
the
you can't get
wordy one is
investigation with Killer and Beck.
correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. I gotta say that's for level sixes. I think there's. I
Those
feel
are
like
the
that's kind of
two.
yep.
Okay. Anything interesting that you just saw in the level threes? Buffs on
I
basic for
want
dark
to
side.
shout out that there's no 15 and 15 for light side, which kind
We've
of
been
makes
seeing
my
that a
heart
lot.
happy because are they finally no longer going to shelter Ahsoka? Because that's really what it's been
What
about
it's been
is
doing this entire
sheltering
time.
her. Yeah, like let's just call if it looks like duck and it talks like duck, it it's duck.
We do have a dark side amplify agony. So if you couple that 2% max health damage on debuffs
Yep.
with Lord Vader and that level 6 where he gains 2% offense, that is going to be
Yeah,
kind of nasty.
that
Uh
2% debuff, it does there's some times where you're just like, "Oh, that doesn't matter." it shuts down so many of those counters that are really, really, what's the word I want to use there?
They're like soft counters, right? They're like kind of on
Yeah,
the
like
edge, and
yeah, like I would say if I'm looking at this Sith, if you're gonna try to place Darth Vader duel's end on defense, you either need to have the bonus turn or the reduction of damage, because otherwise, like I would just pull out Balin.
yeah,
And like if I faced a couple when they didn't have that uh bonus turn at the start, and Balin without a datacron beat that team for full banners without them taking a turn. Like it just so
yeah,
that's kind of the way I'm looking at that is if you're gonna try to throw them on defense, you probably want to have that bonus turn at the start and then the 2% max health.
yeah.
Just because I think that's just stupid.
And then for light side, we have at the start of the encounter, the weakest ally gains 20% turn meter, which does help to start turn meter trains. So if you have a turn meter
Yep.
train team, that can be very helpful. My gut here is saying that other than that, speed up on basic. You know, like you have evasion up, health steal up, and health up on special abilities. But I'm thinking light side allies use a special ability. They gain speed up for 2 turns is probably the way to go for the majority of crons.
Yeah, I think the buffs will be nice. That's the Ray buff. Don't want
Hmm.
that for the health steal.
Yeah.
But like Ahsoka with speed up, it should be a crime against humanity.
But you know
Um,
what? Here's the thing about this set, and this is what I said, and this was my point in the beginning. There's nothing here that I'm scared of. You know, there are things that are going to be painful. There are things that are going to turn off counters that are going to make some counters harder and open up new counters. But there's nothing where I'm like, oh God, this is going to suck.
so the Jedi Guardian here,
Okay,
when
scroll back down.
while she is below 50% health, she gains crit immunity, defense up, and a stack of heal over time at the start of each of her turns. First time she falls below 50%, Jedi and unaligned Force user allies gain protection up 50% for 2 turns. Whenever an enemy targets Jedi Knight Guardian with an ability, that enemy takes true damage equal to 40% of their max health. This damage can't defeat enemies.
Where do you think I think when you say unaligned force users, I feel like some
There's
people
only
might
one.
try it. I
There's only
think
one person you're putting that with.
I think some people are going to try it with Ray, but I don't I think sometimes we get like a cron that looks really special on paper, and then once we try it, it is useless.
Yeah, I think the thing there is if she can does she have a actual taunt?
I don't even I don't even
I've
think
never
so.
I-
Hold on, let me
mine is
see.
my Jedi Guardian is gear 7 level 69.
Mine is Relic 2. Um yeah, doesn't even have her own taunt. I feel like this is gonna be one that people are gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna throw this with Ray
Yeah,
after her Kron is gone," and I
there's
don't think it's gonna work.
if there's no way to force her,
Yeah,
that's kind of the problem. You're gonna
I
need
think Quad May
something
is
that
still gonna beat that up really,
yeah,
really
you're gonna
easily.
need the only yeah, because and again it says if we go back
Yep,
targets with an ability. So if you aren't
AOE.
targeting her but deal damage, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're gonna need some way to
it's a
force
trap.
her to taunt.
I don't think
Um,
it's kind of like Kit Fisto. I think Kit had one a while back that everyone was like, "Oh, use this, use this, use this," and once we actually all got it, it really wasn't that great because Kit
uh,
Fisto wasn't that great.
yeah, that is definitely an issue we've run into. That I think that's kind of the issue with the ISB is like they're just not good enough that to really make a cron for them, it would have to be so broken that you're not gonna do it.
Yeah,
Um, Iden has a very wordy one, and that doesn't mean that wordy always means they're good. But whenever an Imperial Trooper ally uses an ability on an enemy with vulnerable, they deal 40% more damage, reduce the enemy's turn meter by 30%, and gain 25% turn meter. Whenever an enemy with vulnerable is defeated, Iden's cooldowns are reset. Whenever an Imperial Trooper ally gains We Adapt or die, they gain 40% critical damage and max protection, stacking into 200 until the end of battle. Whenever Imperial Trooper ally is defeated while having Adapt or die, Imperial Trooper allies gain Retribution for 2 turns. Whenever We Adapt or die is dispelled from an Imperial Trooper ally, inflict defense down and vulnerable on all enemies for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. That is not bad.
I think you might
I
see it being used in the mid game. And
Yeah,
I think some people will put it on defense in Kyber, and some people will try to Wampa it, and they'll get some early defense in the first like match or two when their shitty Wampa fails against it because of the ramping damage. But I think that there's gonna definitely be a lot of answers to it, and that it's probably not something worth pursuing in the end game.
yeah. I think where am looking at that though is I think offensively there could be some very good
Fair,
use
fair.
to, like it's she's one of those teams where kind of what I think we were saying with Starkiller Luke a little bit, where it's like you might bring her on offense, hope you can beat something silly, and you know,
That's that's very fair.
because there's guys who are gonna, Tassinx Fatal, they're gonna come up with some
Something ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah,
I would agree with
watch
that.
my watch my Iden beat GL Hundo.
And no one else can do it because Fatal has like a 30 speed crit damage triangle on his Iden that nobody
Yeah,
else has
like
ever rolled ever. Yes, I would agree with that. But again, this set is not a bad set. It's not like that bounty hunter set we had where most of it was forgettable. For the last 2 bounty hunters, Forlom and Zuckus, bounty protocol, I think it was called. I don't fully remember. It is definitely not something to be ignored, but it is not as powerful as the last couple of sets that we have had. I'm going to cede the floor to you now past datacrons because I know that you wanted to discuss GAC before we jumped out for the night.
yeah. So I don't know if you've felt this way. Maybe it's just me. We were having a discussion in our Discord we have a Discord chat with a couple of the other content creators, and one of the things that came up was how small Kyber 1 is right now.
The way that
Especially,
you said that was as if this was a Discord that I'm not a part of and did not see the conversation.
I was giving everybody else context and not
I'm sorry.
you,
Did I ruin the magic? I apologize.
bastard. Uh, and the conversation, like I always say, anytime GAC is getting brought up, I'm ready for the hottest take possible. But it felt like we were kind of in agreement that like this skill squish is really causing some problems for players like yourself, Scribe, me, even probably Vexatron is feeling some of that pain. I think Sanjita, he's so high up in Kyber 1 that he doesn't really. I'm sure he gets squished, but he's so high up there it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But what's happening is you're squishing out all these players into Kyber 2, or they're right on that margin line of Kyber 1. And the issue that poses for me is, number one, I do not belong that level. Like, when I play an average Kyber 2 opponent, I don't know if you feel this way when you do GACs, but like I could tell when I used to fall into Kyber 2, I was going 3-0. Like it was like
Yeah.
clockwork. And that's not, I'm not trying to be cocky, guys. Like I really am not trying to be cocky when I say that. Like that's just a matter of fact. Like 3 months ago, if I was in Kyber 2, people were dropping on teams that were shocking. Like I
Yes.
think
Yeah, yeah.
the one round there wasn't a single person that cleared either of my walls. Was the state of GAC then. That's not the case now. Kyber 2 is much more competitive now. People are getting put there that don't really belong. And the sad part of it is it makes it harder for anyone else trying to make Kyber 1. And then it also just feels like this futile effort on myself where I'm like, how am I realistically supposed to stay in Kyber 1 when I'm losing 80 points a season? Like the last 2 seasons, the only reason I stayed Kyber 1 is I went 6-3. And that's not normal
Yeah.
like that's not their intended design. I should be going 5-4 and 4-5. And I've had 2 6-3 seasons in a row. And that's I'd say if you look through my history, I've had more 6-3 seasons than 5-4. I think I had 1 4-5.
Yeah.
But most of my stuff is 6-3 because I'm losing so many points falling down and fighting people that realistically shouldn't be fighting. And I feel like it's just ruining my love of GAC because I'm getting placed in like the first matchup with people that I have no business facing. And then I get faced up with people who I also have no business facing. And I get maybe 2 battles, 3 battles if I'm lucky a season where it's actually somebody where it's a fair fight. And
I
that doesn't mean I'm not beating people I shouldn't beat because I have. But it's like the one guy I beat last week was like it was close to 17 million, I think. I beat him by a point.
yeah.
Right? And I would argue I played perfectly or close to damn near. No, I shouldn't say perfectly because I did made a mess at Gungans. He made a mess on my defense on a team. But otherwise, I played like phenomenally and I managed to eke out a win by a point. And you're just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing this for? This isn't fun. Like, I did not enjoy that GAC one bit because you're just like, there's not a single room for error. And maybe I just don't want to be in Kyber 1 anymore. And that's what the whole point of this is because it's just not worth the squeeze. But you're sort of not making it worth the squeeze because you're forcing it to be the tryhards of the tryhards. Like, I'm a tryhard, but I'm not a tryhard of the tryhard Ramon and Gungans for defense, Vex.
I screw you, Vex. I understand what you're saying. I personally, I obviously the skill squish is an enigma to us. We don't necessarily know how low they intend to go, and in the past they opened Kyber up again and then they dropped it back down with the squish again. So we don't really know the
Yeah.
full intended design. I've never really tracked it, which surprises some people when they reach out to me and they ask me about it, and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't pay attention. I in the squish itself, I don't necessarily care about. What I have found funny though is that over the last like 2 years or so, year and a half, maybe 2 years, I have been getting more and more involved in GAC. Previous to those 2 years, for about 2 years, maybe 3 years, I was turtling. I would set all of my GLs on defense, and I would just try to beat my opponent's defense with no GLs, and they would get frustrated on my defense, and I didn't care. I'd either win or lose on a couple of battles. And during this time now, as I'm getting more into GAC, whether I like it or not, just because it's there, it seems like every other content creator is going, this is not fun anymore, right? Like you're kind of starting to realize the things that I realized 2 years ago. Sung Jita, you name dropped and we were talking, and I'm not going to go through the list of people saying it because maybe they have their own content that they want to make, but there were multiple other big name content creators kind of sharing very similar sentiments and possibly doing some of the strategies that I was using in the past, of turtling. And for those of you that have those opponents in your upcoming match, I won't name them because I don't want to ruin that surprise. Um, I've never felt like GAC is worth the squeeze in terms of tons of effort. I tend to do my battles during the school year as speed GAC. Right, I do it as
Yeah.
fast as I can while in my office. Right now, I'm putting a little bit more thought into it because I'm at home. Um, I sometimes I'm in K1, sometimes I'm in K2. The I've never really found GAC to be interesting enough for me to try hard in it, because when you get to the part of GAC that we're in, when you get to the area of GAC we're in, everybody's walls are almost exactly the same.
It's the same crons.
It's the same crons. Everybody has all of the good crons, right? I'll never
That's
during this season, nobody's not gonna have the Rodacron. Nobody.
unless
Everybody's
you're
gonna have it.
fighting unless you're fighting me, and then you'll be like, "He didn't have a Raycron. What a loser!" Like,
Well,
I have like,
in the first week you might, because you're
yeah,
still farming them, but for the most part, everybody has the 3 or 4 like highly beneficial crons. Everybody has all the teams.
everybody's modded the game.
Your Rada might be 5-star versus 7-star, but overall everything else is there, and I know that on defense, I'm gonna right now next week I'm gonna fight Rada, right? I'm gonna fight Ahsoka. I'm gonna fight Rey. I'm gonna fight Vader's Duel's End. Like, that's every single match. I'm almost always gonna fight Jedi Master Mace Windu. It's just how GAC goes, and I don't find that interesting. I only find it interesting when I do have an opponent that sets weird defenses. My last match, my opponent set like a sortie team with the sortie cron. Did not expect to see that at all. Not the BB-8 cron. No, I think it was a sortie cron. I don't know. I don't even remember, but it
Sortie
was weird.
Sortie-Cron is Sortie-Cron can be, if you're not paying attention, it can
Yes,
mess your life up.
but it was weird, and I enjoyed that. Last week I did a GAC on a friend's account because he was busy. He's in K3 and he's like, "Hey, can you just do one attack? Just do one attack so I get my loser reward." So I logged into his account and I realized that his opponent set the weirdest shit. Like the weirdest shit for K3. So I played the whole GAC match because it was interesting. I was like, this is a really strange match. I want to play it. But those things come around so few and far between, because if you want to win in GAC, you have to set things very particularly. And
Yeah.
after doing that for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, one team might change, 2 teams might change. I've never found it interesting. To me, it has always been a means to an end.
And it's definitely turning more and more into, and I am calling myself out when I say this, it's an efficiency fest. Like, you can't there's so many counters that exist now that you can't really playing that turtle style defense is almost a, I don't want to say it's a guaranteed loss, but it's a lot harder because you have so many teams that work.
Yeah,
That at this point, especially if you have all the datacrons, you have so many teams that work that you're gonna end up like not using Bo, not using Atreya or Vader, whatever it is. You're not gonna use something and still score really, really well. And everybody's fleet defense is the same. You're not setting a
everybody's.
single GL fleet because why? Like, even when you have a Relic 10 Leviathan, people don't set it against me with Relic 9. And I think that's kind of comedy because it's like an automatic 4-point loss. But what are
And
you
it's
gonna,
it's not even an automatic win there, because in Fleet Arena nobody sets like a weird Leviathan, so you can beat a Relic 10 easily. In GAC, people do set comps that have a little bit of RNG behind whether or not you're going to win with a Relic 9, and it comes around very rarely. But you're right, most people don't set it, and I took my um, Darth Revan to Relic 10. I think I said to you like 2 weeks ago, just because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. Even though it comes around like once a month, and every time it comes around, I get to that battle and I go, "What are you doing? Stop, stop! Like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, why are you making GAC more painful for both of us?"
I I get annoyed in my fleet arena only because I've watched people go from 9 to 6 because they can hit me at 6 or wherever I'm sitting that I'm Relic 9, and I'm like, "You are doing an extra battle. Like, you're taking more time out of your day just so you can press auto,
Quicker.
like, a minute sooner," which I get it. Listen, it is what it is, but it just cracks me up because, like, I would do it for the sole purpose that I can just maybe win a coin flip, but that was kind of the whole reason I called it out as kinda silly is, like, you're still getting into a coin flip in however many of your matchups. That's like that's why they can delete fleets. Go back to
But you
what
know
I
what?
said earlier.
You say that they'll do an extra battle. I don't. I'll hit you at 6 and then do my do battle to 2, and then I'm not doing another battle. I'm
Yeah,
not going from 2 to 1. I don't care.
yeah, I'd say that, I mean, it's 25 crystals, so for most people it's not a big deal. But yeah, I've watched guys do refreshes. There's one guy in my shard, he used to climb, he would do all of his fleet battles. And this was a whale, like he had
Yeah.
a going back to Gear 12 days. He had Gear 12 Jedi Consular in the
God.
Mace Windu comp. Like every pilot was Gear 12 in the Mace Windu team. It was
Back in the
so
old days.
fucking annoying. Yeah. Uh but he would do all of his fleet battles in like 15 minutes and he'd do like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like you're just like
Why?
you literally lost crystals in this like you spent 250 crystals when you were already going to make 200 crystals. Like what are you doing?
For him it was the love of the game. That's I
Yeah,
and
like you
I
just
and I know people like that.
yeah,
It's
but
insane. You don't understand how the mentality of some people until you get to actually talk to the people that have that mentality. I
yeah.
do think we've had the discussion. I think that GAC, there's a lot of refreshes that need to be done to make it more interesting, especially with a 10-year-old game. It can be very daunting to find a match enticing and to want to play a match when I know what it's going to look like. And I might drop, they might drop, I might win, they might win, but overall I'm going to be playing the same exact battles every single time. And I hope that they do refresh it in the near future, but they have other more pressing things right now that need to be finished, like and I don't want to get into it right now at 11 p.m., but like the raid, which does need to they do
Yeah,
need
so
to get
like
on top of.
no news is at this point no news is good news because it just means I have more time to do stuff.
Ugh,
But yeah, I
I
mean, if
I'm
you still
so
don't have,
sick of it.
and again, not that we're trying to get into it, but it's like, where's era PvP? Where's overcharge?
I'm
Like
surprised that at least one of them hasn't come to the game yet. And I know that and this is kind of what we were talking about last episode. It's always going to be at the beginning of an era, right? So once an era
yeah,
starts, I feel like, all right, you have 3 months until it comes around. And I don't want era PvP. I don't know if I necessarily want to overcharge either. I understand the on
I
paper
think
PR version for overcharge, but I also understand that they're going to sell me consumables that allow me to change my speeds, and I'm going to hate that, right? Like, so I
yeah, I think overcharge is only coming because of era PvP.
probably, it's almost
So
definitely
that
not because of Coliseum.
yeah, like they don't like Coliseum, they're fine with it's you know you're sick and tired of, hey, I spent $400
Yeah.
and I'm getting sixth place in Coliseum because of RNG, which you're still getting the same rewards. Now you can go spend that money on overcharge and be number one and feel good about
Yep.
what you
I'm
did.
telling you, there is going to be a pay to win aspect to overcharge. All of the players are like excited for it. I think in theory it makes sense. It's something that's interesting, but I just think that they're going to find
I
a way to make me hate it.
Yeah, I have a feeling if you're not spending, it's going to be something where it's not going to make any difference.
Yes,
Like
almost definitely.
and that's I think this like I don't want to say the sad part, but it's like that's kind of the sad part of this is that like really not going to make any difference in your GAC or GAC Coliseum.
In your
Uh,
Coliseum.
yeah,
For some
you're not.
for some battles it will. Like right now I don't think it'll really change anything. But depending on the compositions, it might. And don't get me wrong, like right now Coliseum videos, there are some newer content creators making some really great videos. Maybe it's going to give them more leverage to be able to do more with that stuff, and great for them if they can make content doing that. Then that's awesome. If they can make things interesting by doing that, then that's awesome. But I do think that there's probably going to be a pay to win aspect to it that is going to frustrate players.
Yeah. Oh, the pay to win is coming. It's just
How?
how
And
painful.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
how painful is it? That's the big question. And again, listen, they got to make money, guys. If you don't spend on this game, it's just gonna get. It's gonna go the way of Disney Sorcerer's Arena and Loader Homie. So
as Shadow would say, game's dead, right?
Yeah, game's gone.
But because I've said game's dead, we've unlocked the end of the episode. It's 11 p.m. I am tired. I have to get this uploaded. Do you have any parting words for us, Fat Philip?
Man, I think going back to the Mando requirements,
Yeah, sure.
right? That so far they've been player friendly, and I'm
Ish.
not.
Adjacent. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't want to jinx it and say it's going to be bad because I think it's probably like it's we're going to see some more stuff, but I have a feeling that they are seeming to learn from some of the mistakes of the past with certain galactic legends and other releases where people didn't want to level certain characters so they never built a GL or vice versa. And I think they're maybe learning some of those lessons and applying it here that, hey, we want you to invest in this, so we're going to make it a little bit less painful of a process. And I want to
Yeah.
say that I appreciate, and I want to say that I appreciate that, that
Oh,
I do appreciate that they're seeming to learn a little bit. If only they could learn and make my GACs like Fatal and Tassanex every week, and then I'd be even happier.
I would love to have
That's
Tastanex's GACs every single week. That is the dream for me, is to have those
Oh,
GACs.
dude,
Uh,
could you imagine logging in and you're
and
like,
not
my
having to do
opponent
anything.
doesn't
Oh,
have a GL.
this
Like,
would be great. This, I would be so, so, so happy. That is the dream for me, 100% hands down.
I
But
think I would, I think I would stream, and the goal would be to use the worst possible characters to
teams,
solo, like the solo the team.
that's what we did.
The Jedi,
Well, I wasn't there for the match, but that's what User did 2 weeks ago. He got an Erodium match, and his goal was to solo like as much of his opponent's defense as possible.
I love it. That's what you got to do. Like
That, and it makes
Jedi
it
Guard,
fun. It makes it fun. It does.
Jedi Guardian Datacron doing some heavy lifting.
All right. You can't pull me back in. I need to go to bed. That is it for Zeta Protocol this week. We will be back in 2 weeks, maybe, if we decide to renew our contracts. But with that said, peace out and have a great rest of your night.